What's up?
You know what I've been thinking about?
Me?
Always.
Oh, yeah.
You know what else?
What else?
I've been thinking about all of the couples and individuals that we have actually helped change their lives through our coaching.
Okay.
And the podcast audience that we've been able to change their lives through our podcast.
Yes.
And how we've actually created a free resource that combines both of those things.
Okay, tell me about it.
So our new Level Up worksheets actually coincide with our topic for each podcast, but they're free self-growth guides or they're couples conversation starters for our couples out there.
That's awesome. I think different people learn different ways, so we provided a different opportunity.
That's right. So if you want to level up and get yours, where do they go?
They can go to successinblackandwhite.com, and in the main menu, there will be the Level Up portal. Just click there.
Yep, you can download your worksheets and your conversation starters from there, or you can fill them out online.
I say do it.
Do it.
It's free.
Level up, baby.
Today.
Mm-hmm.
Yo. What's up? We back in the house one more again. We about to do this thing. You ready?
I'm ready.
Why are you looking?
I'm trying to figure out why I'm so white.
Probably because we changed our background up too.
Maybe.
White on white on white.
I was wearing sunscreen today. I don't usually wear sunscreen.
Oh, okay. Wearing sunscreen makes you
white.
Oh, okay.
Because I wear a physical block, like a zinc.
Ah, okay.
That's why I look so white.
I got it. Okay.
Also because I'm white.
I mean, success in
black and white.
Yeah, so
I'm successful in white. Okay, cool.
All right, you ready to do this?
I'm ready. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Success in Black and White.
The podcast. We are back in the house one more again. We are back one more again.
Coming to you live.
From the house.
I don't know when we started saying that, but it's pretty funny.
Actually, I was the one who said coming to you live, and then you were the one that said from the house. From the house.
Oh yeah, so we switched it up.
Yeah, you just took over.
Oh.
It's okay, I'm used to it.
I know.
So.
Lucky me.
Yeah, very lucky you. All right.
Ooh, well, let me get my glass of wine, because what are we talking about tonight, dear?
We're talking about validation.
We are talking about validation tonight.
And not in the way that you're probably thinking, like if you go to a restaurant and you had to get your car parked and you had to get the ticket validated.
Ooh.
Not that type of way. That's the only kind of validation that I'm trying to get.
No more?
No, that's the only validation that I'm seeking after.
Oh, it's funny because when we talked about this topic, I was torn because you can look at it in so many different ways, right? And for me, because of what I do every day, like I work with data.
Yeah, to validate.
In order to prove certain things are happening that need to be happening to validate.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times I get stuck in it can be a good thing, and then there's the philosophical, sometimes it's a bad thing.
Right.
But the way that I'm excited for the way we're going to talk about it tonight and to get your perspective, because I'm very ingrained in validation on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for your perspective.
Awesome.
But first, you know me, I don't have research tonight. I don't have data tonight, but I did want to go over the definition of validation because there are so many different ways that this term can be used.
You know her.
You know me. So, according to the dictionary, validation there's 3 different definitions. So either 1, the action of checking or proving the validity or accuracy of something. I would say that a large majority of what I do on a daily basis in gathering facts and in gathering evidence and trying to prove certain outcomes and meet certain metrics for a large scale organization falls right in line with this definition.
I would say that falls right in line with what you do.
Right in line. The second definition of validation is the action of making or declaring something officially acceptable.
Wow.
It's interesting, right?
That is very interesting.
Do you know what this makes me think of?
What's that?
This makes me think of any time, like any sort of scales that we use to measure the effectiveness of something. So for instance, like your restaurant, your favorite restaurant might fall into like the top 10 restaurants in your city. Like that type of scale or like list, right?
Yeah.
Or like one time, the gym that you worked at won an award for being like the top gym.
Yeah, the top gym in the
city,
area.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what this makes me think of. But I think we can do this on a people, like person basis too.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Like the top 50, what is it? The top 50 over...
Top 50 over 50.
Or the top 50 under 50, maybe?
Yeah.
It's like the top 50 millionaires.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so those type of lists. So officially acceptable. The third one, I think, is what we're going to spend a majority of our time on talking about today.
Yes.
And the third definition of validation is the recognition or affirmation that a person's feelings or opinions are valid or worthwhile.
Woo. Say that again.
The recognition or affirmation that a person's feelings and or opinions are valid and worthwhile.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely the one that we're going to focus on tonight.
Yes. And I mean, all three of these definitions tie in together in some sort of way.
Right.
It's just that we typically will tend to think of them a little bit differently depending on the situation that you're in, right?
Right.
So I do think that validation can be good. There's good that can come from validation.
Absolutely.
So, for instance, cheers. So, for instance, if you think about at work, validation can help you know when you're on the right track.
Right.
So, like, if you're working, maybe you're new to a job or new to an organization and you're trying to pick up the culture of an organization. Maybe in your personal life, you're new to a relationship and you're trying to really make sure that you are on the right track in your relationship. Validation and like words of affirmation or other things like that can help make they help you so you understand if you're on track or not, either in your career or in your relationship. Yes, and so I think that is when validation can be good.
Yeah, I agree. And you need those sometimes as reassurance to kind of make sure that your goals and what you're trying to accomplish have measurements that can keep you on track, that also aligns with what you're seeking after.
Absolutely. There are so many times I want to know, like, I've done a good job on a project or I'm on the right track on a project. And I sometimes just need that affirmation, that validation, like, yes, what you did was worthwhile. Now keep going.
Right.
Right.
And I think that a way to differentiate between the three and how we're going to talk about the third part of the definition is that the way that we're explaining it and the way that it's in a positive light is associated with tasks and outcomes, not a specific person or people. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think the third one is more associated with a person.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a good way to kind of identify and break up the way that we're going to explain the third one and why we're going to focus on that one, because it deals with the individual person as opposed to where the first two deal with specific outcomes. So I think that that's a good segue.
Yeah, agree. Well, and I do want to talk about when validation can be bad.
Okay, yeah. Oh, right? Definitely. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, and I think that's right on mark with what you're saying is that third one where you're really looking at validating a person's feelings or thoughts or actions.
Right.
And validating them and saying like they're worthwhile.
Yes. And
this is when I think sometimes this can be good. Again, going back to some of those situations where we're talking about maybe at work, like with a project and, you know, what you did, you need the validation that it was good. Mm-hmm. But it becomes bad when you start to really rely on that validation of what other people are saying about you in order to determine your success or how you feel about yourself.
Right.
right? And that can be a really bad thing. Like that can be detrimental to
Definitely.
you.
What are some ways that people do that?
That people start to rely on other people for
Yeah.
validation. Do you know the number one way that I think of this?
What?
I think of this in terms of social media.
Oh, yes, definitely. By far.
It is hard. This is a game that I fall victim to all the time.
Yep.
We talk about, I mean, so if we back up, before we started our business, even after we started our business, neither one of us were very active on social media.
No.
Neither one of us really liked it, and once we figured out that it does have, there's some really good that can come out of it for your business. We're like, okay, we can connect with people, we can build our network, we can collaborate with people. There's definitely some good that comes from it, but then we talk about all the time, like the algorithm
and all of that stuff, trying to play the game.
Yeah, we're always trying. It's like, should we have business accounts? Should we have personal accounts? How far can our reach go? What if people don't like my post?
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
It happens, we talk about that.
We do talk about it. I think for different reasons though, and especially me is definitely like not from a validation perspective. I think that you have to keep me on check because there has to be consistency.
Yes.
There has to, because I'm so random, and y'all probably get that in the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm so random. She's like, you can't post that today. That has nothing to do with, what we're motivating or encouraging or inspiring people about this week.
We do have plans on social media because we're not good at social media unless we have plans.
And I'm so random.
So we have plans and they'll be like, I want to post a bunny.
And I'm she's like, no. What does that have to do with anything? Because I don't care if people...
No, you don't.
I don't care how many likes I get. I don't care about none of that. And, she keeps me in check. So now what she does is whenever I have those ideas... she'll have me just kind of, either record it or put it down. And then when there's an appropriate time and it fits in with our plan, she'll let me insert it there. So I still am giving it the way that I'm feeling it. And it has that emotion to it and it has that rawness and that authenticity to it. But it's just not at that time. I use it now because... I guess it does help with the reach and it does help with connecting with people. But from a validation perspective, that doesn't matter to me at all. And sometimes it gets me in trouble.
Yeah. And you don't get caught up in this at all. And
no.
I will get caught up in it.
Sometimes
I'll go through ebbs and flows. There are times where I'm just like, okay, like this is the plan. We're sticking to it. We're going to post this today. We're going to post throughout the week about, whatever, because we have, according to our business and our goals in our business, we have certain plans for social media, which is really important to do if you own a business. But then there's times that I'm like, I just get caught up in the amount of likes. Like, if not enough people, okay, and I'm just being super transparent about this because I know I'm not the only person out there, okay? But if not enough people like what I posted, then I'm like, what if it wasn't good content? Or like, what if this picture is terrible? Or like, what if nobody saw it because of the algorithm, right? So too often, instead of thinking about the message that I want to put out and the message that matters to me and matters to what we planned for and our goals and the audience we're truly trying to reach, I get caught up in this. I need the validation of the likes on social media. And I'm just going to put it out there because it's honest, because I think that everybody, if they're honest, most people, because I can honestly say, like, I know you don't really care about it because you post whatever you want to and then I'm like, take it down. But for most people, I would say that getting the likes
or the
views is a form of validation.
Definitely.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that to an extent. It can tell you maybe the health of your business, but when it overlaps into dictating when you're posting and what you're posting and how true are you being to yourself, that's dangerous
definitely.
territory.
And whether you take it down just to post it again later just to see if it gets more likes.
I have not done that yet.
That's crazy. I'm like, are you serious?
That's a little too much. But people do that. So I'm not like making fun of you because I know people do that.
No, definitely. We are we're not making fun of you.
I haven't cared that much yet.
No, I don't care.
I hope I don't.
I don't care.
I don't know.
Period.
I know you don't. Yeah, I know.
I mean, if somebody likes it, I'm like, yeah, I hope you took away the message from this.
Right. I think that's the most important,
if I have one person, I'm good.
Right.
If one person saw it and liked it, I'm good.
And I just think it's that edge of you have to be careful because you can tell yourself, like, the more likes I get, then the more, maybe the better my message was.
Or the more impact that you're having.
Or the more impact I'm having. And I don't think that's true because we say all the time, if we impact one person, that is our calling.
That's good for me.
Right. Like, that is what we're meant to do.
Yeah.
And so I think, to me, that's that example of, like,
because it could have been that one person that needed it more than anybody else.
Yeah. And that's who you were supposed to talk to that day.
That's who I was supposed to get to.
Yeah, that was the message.
So, I mean, it's easy for, us to say this and I commend you for being vulnerable and honest about you falling victim to that because I do see it sometimes. But so what are some like signs or ways that people can know that like they're relying on validation or they need that validation?
Okay, so if I stick with this social media example.
Yeah, let's stick with the social media since that's the example that we gave.
Okay, and then just to be really vulnerable and honest, continuing that front. So for me, I think one of the things is, if you're looking at the amount of likes, the amount of views, whatever. And then like you said, like maybe if you're thinking about, well, maybe I should repost this later in the day so that it gets more likes and views. And I haven't gone there yet, but there has been times where I've let social media dictate my emotions, which sounds crazy, but it's true. If I see, especially people, this is so crazy because I don't tend to operate on a scarcity mentality.
Yeah.
So in other words, like I think that there is a place for us. There's a reason that we're doing what we're doing. There's an audience that connects to us. There are people who need to hear our message from us. And those are the people that we speak to, and those are our people. Like if you are watching us, like we love you. You are our people. You are our audience. And so then I think it's crazy that I get sucked into sometimes the scarcity mentality of like somebody else might be doing it better and they might be doing it bigger on a bigger scale. And then I start getting like, well, what if we're not doing the right things? Well, what if this is where Daryl suffers? Because then I'm like, well, we need to be doing more.
I'm like, man, we ain't got time for all this. Like, want me to tell you what like makes it, I guess, a little bit easier for me.
What? To
not get caught up into that. Because like, this is how I see it. I don't want like God to look at me one day and be like, I had somebody that I needed you to impact.
Oh. And
because you were worried about likes, because you were worried about views, you didn't do my work.
Ooh, that was, yes.
That's what like holds me accountable, because here's the thing. We talk about our calling in life. We talk about why we were placed here. It has been revealed to me, and I know what my calling is. And
you don't really let anything get between that.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. And I know what it is. And I have accepted it because I told you, and I think maybe in some episodes I've even said it before. And if not, I'll say it again now. Like, I ran from it because I did not want to do what my calling was and what God kept pushing me towards. I tried to avoid it. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't like this. And anytime anybody came to me and gave me any signs or any verbal like discouraging words,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. This ain't for me. I'm out.
Yeah.
And finally, when I owned it and I accepted it, I'm like, this is my calling. This is what I was placed it for. I know. And the way that God works through me and the way that he uses me, I just let go. And for me to know what my calling is, for me to be clear in it, and for me to have been used by God the way that I has, and for me to miss out on him working through me because somebody didn't like a post, or because somebody didn't view a post, or because somebody didn't share a post, I just can't do it. Like that wouldn't set well with me at all. And that's the accountability piece for me.
Yeah.
And not to say that, you don't have those same convictions. But for me, like, that's immediately where I go. And I'm like, there's no way. And like I said, sometimes my stuff is random. But if you think about it, some of the encounters that I have and some of the interactions that I have are not planned out. If you think about it.
I mean, there was an interaction when we were at lunch together today. Literally.
Yes.
Actually, two.
Yep.
Interactions.
Yeah. Definitely, yes.
That was like we were supposed to be.
We're supposed to be right where we were.
Spot, literally sitting
at that time.
in that spot at that time in order to run into those two people.
Absolutely.
That needed that needed somebody to speak into them.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
And for me to be like, oh, I'm worried about, perceptions. I'm worried about likes. I'm worried about views. I'm worried about what's going to be perceived, what people are going to think. Like, I don't have time for that, because the last thing I want is for God to be like, I gave you a gift and you know what your gift is, and I'm working through you in your gift, and now you're not using it because you're looking for validation in other things and other people other than me working through you.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful.
Alone holds me accountable. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect with it, because I am human. We all fall short, and I definitely know I fall short sometimes. But I can tell you what, it doesn't take long. I don't waddle in it. It doesn't take long. I come right back and I'm like, hey, whatever your work is, whatever it is, use me. I'm good. Let's go. Let's ride.
Yeah.
And I have a very, I guess, unauthentic way when you're talking about like spirituality and we're talking about like God using me. I'm not traditional. I think a lot of people get confused that way too. I'm not traditional, but definitely I'm using my gift that was given to me, and I'm doing work for him.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not perfect with it, and that's what he's there for. So
yeah,
that's what holds me accountable. I know I kind of went off like,
no,
I wasn't trying to get all deep or nothing, but
no, I'm glad you did, and I'm glad you said that, because that changes my entire perspective on it. And actually, while you were talking about that, I thought there were really 3 encounters, and one I had before you even got there. And I was like, if I was too scared to speak up because I was worried about perception, or if that person was like, if they were going to think I was weird or whatever, I wouldn't have said what I said to them. And there was a very positive interaction back. Like, I needed to hear that. Thank you. And so I'm learning from you.
Yeah.
But it can be difficult, because there's so much of us as humans that wants to be validated and needs to feel like we have worth in other humans' eyes. But I think the way that you framed it was like, your worth is coming from God himself and in your calling. And if you got to stand up in front of the big guy at the end of your life, and he's like, you missed this opportunity and this opportunity and this opportunity because you were so worried about what people thought about you.
Yeah.
Like, that's powerful.
Yeah, definitely. So that right there is my accountability piece. And I hold fast to that. Like, that's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
That's one of my non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what else? Come on. You got me over here. Like,
I know you preaching, but it's good
guess.
because I needed to hear that. So we can talk about calling all day. And then there's so many times that I think we say things to each other. It's like, thank you. I needed to hear that. Mm-hmm. So you guys just get to witness it. So do you want to talk about the signs of needing validation?
Yeah. What are those?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I guess we can go over this quickly because we're kind of talking about them.
Yeah.
But I think the first sign is feeling like you need attention.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is where, like, if I'm being honest and we go back to the social media example, then it's like, if I don't get enough likes, I don't get enough attention, then I'm like, but I feel like I need it. And then I get upset. Like, emotional response to social media.
To a like.
Isn't that crazy?
To a like.
I know. Like as I'm talking about this, I'm like, what's wrong with me? But this is a lot of people do this, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the signs. And then, codependency.
Yeah, codependency.
This is something that you had, and I think it's really important to think about, especially when you think about more in the like real life examples.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in the relationship.
Yes. Being in the relationship, or even like, well, that's probably the best one. I was going to say at work too, but more so.
Oh, no, definitely at work with your supervisor.
Yeah.
I definitely think that this falls into that category too.
Yeah, absolutely. And just not being sure of yourself, but then relying on that person to validate your feelings or to continue to push forward your feelings, even if, I mean, that's ridiculous, because if I might be upset one day, why should you be upset and bring down your mood to match mine?
To match yours, yeah.
Or if you're upset, why should I bring down my mood to match yours? We're two separate individuals.
So that you can feel validated.
Right, isn't that crazy?
That there is a connection, or that we are.
Yes, but you know what? That happens a lot in relationships.
Wow. Yeah. And look, we don't have all the answers, and we don't do it the best way all the time. I don't even think there's a right way, because if you're constantly growing, there is never going to be a right way. Yeah. But to acknowledge that and to be able to call it what it is and work on it, I think is what's most important. And these are signs. And if you have some of these signs, we're not saying that there's something wrong with you, or you're out of line, or you're not in tune. It's just something that you need to acknowledge, and something that you work towards improving, and that you work towards growing in. And that's independently, and if it's in a partnership with your partner. Yeah.
So, and I think you can see codependency usually often like early on in a relationship when you're still trying to figure each other out. I mean, we were codependent.
Oh, yes.
For a while early on.
Real fast.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of fights and stuff stemmed from that codependency.
Yeah, definitely got old real fast.
I really want to get into the tips on how to take action against validation, or when you feel like you need validation and it's really just a false sense of like being you're into you. Almost, I hate saying narcissistic, but I think needing validation can be narcissism. And so being so into you that you're not listening to your higher calling, from God, from the universe. And so,
or if you want to put it into work perspective, not listening to supervisors or bosses or people that are in place to help you be the best version of yourself at work. I mean, this can go in all different areas.
It can go in a lot of different directions.
A lot.
Because then there are people who work in jobs where you're almost completely autonomous.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that validation from people that you're doing a good job, then you're like, oh my gosh, does my work even matter anymore?
Doesn't matter, yeah.
I'm like, well, you're in an autonomous position, so like self-motivate,
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, okay, so let's.
We're not beating nobody up.
No, because this is something
we about to lose a couple of listeners that we have. They're like, oh man, they talking to me tonight. They beating me up. Like, we're not beating you up. We just want to bring it to the forefront.
Been through that.
Oh yeah, I'm not shying away. Telling you, I'm not telling you anything that I haven't experienced and that I haven't been through and that I haven't grown through.
Yeah. Or for me that I continue to struggle with.
I'm continuing to grow through this. So we're not beating you up. Our few listeners that are with us, like, we hope y'all don't like turn us off and be like, oh man, I can't listen to them no more.
No, we got some good tips coming up.
Yeah, definitely.
So the first thing to do if you feel like you need validation, you have on here is put yourself first.
That's the number one thing. Put yourself first, because anytime, we talked about it with social media, we talked about it with work, anytime you're looking for that validation, it's based off what someone else can do for you to make you feel good or valued or worth for yourself. So you look into somebody else to make you feel valued about yourself. How about you just eliminate the middleman and put yourself first? That's how I feel about it. That's what I mean by put yourself first. So you want to look at what you're doing. Focus on what you're doing, not what someone else thinks that you're doing that can validate you and make you feel like what you're doing is worth it. Focus on what you're doing. Put yourself first, and that's what matters. And everybody else comes second to that.
I think that's smart. It's like putting your own personal growth and development before anything else.
Before anything else. And that's what matters. Look at what you're doing, because a lot of the times you overlook the effort, the energy, the attention, everything that you're putting into yourself and what you're putting into. So for instance, let's go back to this posting on social media, since this is what we're talking about.
Okay.
So you come up with the idea, you get the idea, it's formulated. You put the idea into the post. You think about what picture you want to put in there. You wrap it up with the bow, make it look good, make it sound sweet. And you take the time to go into different social medias and you post it.
You're saying this like this is what we do every day.
Yeah, right? And because,
this is what we do every day.
And because somebody does not like it, you immediately lose sight, lose contentment, lose focus on everything that you did to put that post out there.
That's true.
So the formulating of the idea.
And you question your worth.
To put the bow on it by adding the picture, making sure that the verbiage is right, making sure that everything is in line and you're posting it to the correct social media platforms. Like, you're negating all of that because you didn't get a like. How about you focus on you first? Look at what you did, appreciate what you did, evaluate what you did, and move forward from that. Stop waiting for somebody to give you a like to validate everything, all the energy, all the effort, the thought that went into what you did. You did it for a reason. You thought about it for a reason. You added a picture for a reason. You posted it for a reason. Let that be good enough, because it's about you.
And just to add another practical yes, because when I get into these funks, I've learned to identify it as I post. So I'll post and then I won't look at social media for a while.
Oh yeah, that's a good
if you guys comment to me, if I get a lot of comments and stuff and I don't respond right away, if it's a couple hours later, it's because I needed to get back into my own mind, remember why it is that I even had that message in the first place. So I didn't get caught up in I need to go look at everybody else's and see what everybody else is doing and see if I did it the right way and then get caught up in my own head. It was just me posting, getting my message out there that needed to happen, and then taking a break and then coming back in once my mind was clear and better.
That's right. And that's putting you first.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that just do it just to put stuff out there, just to mess with people sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just be ridiculous and crazy stuff. Sometimes you catch me looking at ridiculous stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you watching?
I'm like, you know what I mean? And sometimes it ain't for that reason,
right.
Yeah. But the biggest thing that I think from this and putting yourself first is based around what you said. Put it out there for what it is, and as long as you have the why and you know what the why is, let it ride. That's what I say, let it ride.
Let it ride. I like that.
Yeah, just put it out there and let it ride. And if you get likes, cool. If you don't get likes, you can come back and put another post 10 minutes later if you want to. I don't think they have no limit on posts, do they?
I don't think so.
I mean, I know etiquette is 3-4 posts a day or one post. I don't know what the etiquette is. I don't really care what the etiquette is, because I feel like posting 5 times, I'm gonna post 5 times. But anyways, that don't have to be the last post. If it's about the likes, leave that one up there, let it ride, and then put another one. I
want to ask you really quick, because we have 3 more tips that are good and I want to get into them.
Definitely.
we're talking about social media, which I think for some people, especially entrepreneurs who are really trying to use it as a marketing tool to get their message out, or for us to spread the message, then I want to make sure that we're also talking about what happens when it seems like there's a little bit more at stake. Like, for instance, if you're at work.
Yeah.
And how do you use this tip while you're at work, and you may feel like you need validation from certain people, your leadership or your supervisors or whatever. How do you kind of get back into this frame, this mindset of putting yourself first while you're in a work setting?
So for me, and this is what I think about it. If you're in a work setting, and these are some of the practices that I use by putting myself first. So if you're in a work setting, by putting yourself first, understanding what you're trying to take away from that opportunity. So when I'm at work, the way that I put myself first is I sit and I think and I'm like, all right, what am I trying to take away from this? What am I trying to learn from this? What opportunities, am I looking to get from this? So when I do put out, work, or I put out something, like, I'm not waiting for somebody to come and be like, oh, D, like, that's awesome. You did a great job. Because my initial thought is putting me first is like, all right, by me taking advantage of this opportunity and getting this experience, I had a chance to plan this. I had a chance to put this into action. I had a chance to follow through on this. And from doing those things, I gained this experience. That's putting me first. I didn't do these so that I can get a plaque. You know what I mean? I didn't do this so somebody can come and pat me on the back and say, great job. And that makes me feel like I'm validated and I'm valued. I'm like, no, I got the job. So that validates me in itself. Yeah. Like, I should be here. And the way that I'm going to put me first is look at the experiences that I'm trying to gain from it. And that's from working with, higher personnel or anybody. So that's how I put myself first. I'm not doing something so that my supervisor or my boss can come to me and be like, I validated, way to go, Daryl. I'm like, no, I was finna say screw you. No, I'm not like screw you, but like, I appreciate it. But I was doing this for the experience.
Right. And for the good of the organization.
For the good of the organization. Like, that's what matters to me. That's putting myself first.
I got you.
Whereas I'm not here so that the boss can come and be like, great job, you're doing a great job, keep it up, to validate me.
Right. Although if you are a boss, you should still give words of affirmation to your staff.
Yes.
And you can listen to that in the School of Leadership series, which we'll post in the show notes. How to give
feedback.
And that too.
Yeah.
We'll post those in the show notes.
How to take feedback, how to give feedback. We talked about all that. But no. It is definitely important if you are a boss.
Yes, agree.
To give validation. But like I said, if it's around something with an outcome, if it's around something like task oriented, then definitely you want to give that validation. And it's good to receive that validation. But if you're talking about in a general context of just being an employee and needing people to validate me, to make me feel valued or worth being a part of the organization or having a job, I'm like, no, I got the job. I'm here. That validates me. I'm worthy.
That's good.
So
that's
in a
good.
work setting, that's kind of the self first mentality. And it ain't nothing wrong with having that.
No. Okay, let's talk about we covered a lot of the next ones, but I'm curious, when you said focus on your values, your skills, your talents, and your strengths, what do you mean by that tip? So to kind of get over that validation, like looking for validation everywhere, and you're focusing on your skills, your talents.
Exactly what you just said. I mean, it literally how you read it is what it is. Okay. As opposed to waiting for someone to come and tell you that you're doing great. Focus on what you value in what you're doing. Focus on your skill sets. Focus on your strengths. Let that be what you're striving to improve, what you're striving to put first.
Okay.
And stop waiting for people to come tell you that you're doing a good job. Be like, I know what my strengths are. I know what my skill set is. I've worked on it. I'm continuing to grow in it. And this is how I'm using it. And this is how it works for me. And that's what I use to validate myself.
And I think it's important. You have another line here and it says, stop comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's really important because that is something that when you're looking for validation, you're typically comparing yourself to others who you think are doing whatever it is, whether it's on social media, whether it's in your workplace, whatever, you think they're doing it better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's self-explanatory.
Yeah. I like this last one. Trusting yourself and staying true to your process.
I always talk about this.
You really, really do. And I think it's so powerful the way that you say it.
Yeah. So in order for you to put in work, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the most important things. Like, people always want results. They always want the success lifestyle, but they don't want to put in the work, right? As a part of putting in the work, it is coming up with the plan. It is coming up with the process. Once you put the effort into doing that, you have to stay true to it. What I mean by stay true to it is not worry about if it shift or if it change along the way. That means, I'm hoping that it means that you're growing, but you have to stay true to your process and trust in yourself. Because when you start looking to other people to validate you, you lose faith and trust in yourself. And you step outside of your process, because if somebody's validation is what's controlling you, that means that they are controlling your process. So if they don't give you that validation, you lose sight of what you're trying to accomplish. Your process is already broken, and now you're just out here marching to the beat of somebody else's drum.
Wow.
That's literally what it is.
Wow. I don't know if you could like say all of that again. That is amazing. So he probably can't say all of that again. So go back and just replay the past like 45 seconds, because that is so true. That's
why you have to trust yourself, trust in your process, because it is about putting you first, and that's what matters.
Right. And again, like, I think there's space for everybody and for the message that everybody has for the world and for everybody's calling. Like, you're not all going to have the same message. You're not all going to be impacting the same people or the same audience, because there are certain people that God is calling you to impact. So I think that's really powerful.
Yep.
Yeah. That was the last tip.
Yep.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, we kind of went to a couple of different directions and stuff.
We went all over the place.
But you know what, though? I ain't mad at it, because somebody need to hear it. I hope we didn't lose any listeners, because I know partially through, it felt like we was kind of beating up on some people.
Yeah, but we were kind of beating up on ourselves.
Yeah, we're beating up on ourselves too, because
And so if you identify with that, don't take that as like we were beating up on you, because trust, we deal with it too.
Yeah, definitely. And use what we were saying to maybe do a self-evaluation and figure out how you can put yourself back at the number one spot in your life.
Mic drop.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that is all we got for tonight.
All right. Until the next time.
Bye.
Peace.